The economy cannot be fueled by Uber drivers and e-bikes. That does not provide a functioning economy. I know that the mainstream news probably tells you to, and you think, oh, this is great. We're going to bring in people from the third world and give them a job via your taxation dollars, which are going to fund them and give them $80,000 a year while you make $60,000 a year being a slave. But I want to bring this back. And again, this is also why you feel so poor. And as people become more and more poor, they can't buy from small and medium businesses. Reason being, small and medium businesses, although it's great to support them, and I fully encourage that. I try to support as much local as I possibly can as well. They're more expensive than the major corporations. Therefore, you're going to go to them less because you're not going to support them over you going bankrupt. They are then going to go bankrupt and further emphasize a monopoly in the big corporations' favor. So, for example, with the grocery stores in Canada, Empire, Sobeys, and Loblaws Superstore own everything. Rogers or TELUS, they own everything. There's this comedian on TikTok. I saw this a couple months ago. A customer comes in, says to TELUS, well, I'm tired of your terrible service. I'm going to switch to Rogers. And he turns around, flips the hat. Yeah, we own them too. Well, I'm going to switch to Bell. Yeah, we own them too. I'm going to switch to MTS. We also own them too. We own everybody. We don't really care what you think. Right? This is what happens with government monopolies. There's no competition to incentivize this type of stuff. And there's loads of government monopolies out there. We can get to that more in a second, but this is why you are feeling more and more poor. Right? The unemployment rate for 25 and under in Canada is 20%, and for 30 and under is 10%. That is very alarming. 10% of youth, well, I guess, let's put it in the middle. 15% of youth cannot find a job. And you can't get ahead. As they print more and more money, it's going to get harder and harder and harder. Once you go below the water, it's very difficult to get back up above the water, right? The government spent last year $17 million on Buy Canadian advertising. The government of Canada, $17 million, Buy Canadian, support Canadian. I never once heard a single word about hiring Canadian. Again, I'll use the example, Tim Hortons. They brought back the old menu. They brought back the retro donuts. They brought back the old cups, but no old retro employees. Support Tim Hortons. They're a good old Canadian company, Canada's favorite coffee, which, by the way, is owned by an investment firm in Brazil. Don't tell anybody. No Canadians own it. Bet you didn't know that. Support Canadian. Buy Canadian. It's all just a giant scam. It's all just a giant lie. And again, don't buy this propaganda. You don't want to believe it? We'll wreck you, says the government. You know, there's this really dumb liberal woman I dated a while ago. And I was having this exact conversation with her. And she said to me, oh, Travis, this is so silly. Like, the government can't come and wreck you and take your home and take your car. And I said, sweetheart, again, everybody should pay their taxes. I'm not being an advocate for evading the government and evading taxes. I pay my taxes on time, as you should as well. She said, they're not going to, if you don't pay your taxes, come and take your shit. And I said, sweetheart, don't pay your taxes this year or the next year or the next or the next and find out how hard they wreck you. They will take your home. They will take your car. They will take all of your shit and they will wreck you if you don't do what they say. Piss them off enough and you can go and find out. Well, the government's fair. They wouldn't do that. There's nothing that says that they can do that. Slave-minded. These people, especially these liberal women, are just so retarded. I love the word retard. I've told the story before. This woman specifically, she used to tell me, I hate when you say retard. Why? I got called it a lot as a kid. I can see why now. I totally see why. They probably should have said it a few more times to help it sink in. But she's such a big head. Physically, big head. I guess it never sunk in through her thick skull. But she'd always argue with me about this. And also, you can even go back to the trucker convoy. Piss us off, freeze your bank accounts. I will give the banks some credit. The banks did resist quite a bit. But at the end of the day, they did freeze the bank accounts. So piss them off, they'll do it.